Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We're here in Kuantan, Malaysia, right on the beach.
The Sea of China.
Let's start off this video by expressing a few positives that we have really enjoyed here in Malaysia before we kind of jump into what you really need to know before you book a trip here.
Yes.
Let's start off with
Good things.
the good stuff.
All right.
Number one about Malaysia, the positive, is that it's very inexpensive to fly here. Whether you're in Asia, any part of Asia, Southeast Asia, Korea, Japan, or even in Europe or the United States, flights to Kuala Lumpur, because it's a big metropolitan city with a big, really nice airport, are very affordable.
Continuing with price, really the exchange rate right now is really good. Not just for the US dollar, but for a lot of other currencies as well. So if you're looking to get a quick vacation in or extend a long vacation, but do it really on the cheap or affordable side, Malaysia is a good option.
Malaysia has an abundance of lodging options that are extremely affordable. They have tons of high-rise buildings in Kuala Lumpur and throughout the other cities in Malaysia. And because of the amount of high-rise apartment buildings, you can book an Airbnb or an accommodation for a very affordable price. What do I mean by affordable?
Yes.
2 weeks for $500 US.
Even last minute.
Yeah, so in terms of accommodations and hotels and Airbnbs, it's very affordable to stay in Malaysia for an extended period of time.
Yeah. If you're into big buildings and skyscrapers and metropolitan areas and shopping malls, Kuala Lumpur is endless. Like, there's not just one center, there's multiple centers you can go to with really unique skyscrapers and buildings, the Petronas Towers, the KL Tower,
the Merdeka 118, the second tallest building in all of the world.
It's endless, so that's another good thing if you want that.
If you want a beautiful night skyline of a city atmosphere and to see all those bright sparkling lights and all the skyscrapers, Kuala Lumpur is almost second to none. It's a really incredible skyline.
Yes.
Although transportation options in terms of trains and buses are somewhat chaotic and limited in Malaysia, what is really amazing is the service known as Grab. G-R-A-B, Grab. It's the American equivalent or the Asian equivalent of Uber.
But way cheaper.
But way cheaper. You can take a Grab clear across the city of Kuala Lumpur for very inexpensive. We're talking, $5, something like that US. And so Grab is an incredible service. They also do food delivery just like Uber, and it's very easy platform to understand. You don't need crazy things to sign up for it. Internationals can use Grab, and it's very simple to use.
Absolutely. If you like islands and beaches, Malaysia has plenty of both, depending on what kind you like. The beach we're sitting on right now is very calm. It's great for children to play in. It's shallow. You can walk very far out.
Super
into the
warm
ocean.
water.
It's very comfortable. It is hot outside, but we're enjoying it because there's kind of a nice cool breeze coming off the water. So if you love water and the beach, you're going to love Malaysia because you have a lot of options.
And the weather here in Malaysia is very warm and humid,
Very humid.
as you might have already guessed, being that it's in Southeast Asia.
Of
but we
course.
found Malaysia actually will be a little bit more comfortable in weather than Singapore was.
Yes.
So the weather here is fairly agreeable.
What we think you should know is that Malaysia is a little bit mismarketed. There's a couple things we want to talk about before you book your trip here, just so you're prepared.
By mismarketed, we mean that when you look up things online, it makes it look ultra posh, ultra modern, like really almost like Singapore in many ways.
Yes.
And they make it seem like you can, for a very inexpensive price, be hanging out in an ultra modern, ultra luxury accommodation. That is a little bit misconstrued, and we want to tell you a little bit of the details about that. So first things first, when you're booking accommodations in Malaysia, you have to have an incredible amount of insight as to where in the city that you're booking. If you book in the wrong part of Kuala Lumpur, you could find yourself easily in an area that's somewhat third world and not clean.
Even if it's only like 2 blocks away.
Kuala Lumpur has some posh spots, but for the most part, it's actually a lot of separated immigrant communities that don't take care of the cleanliness of the streets. There's a lot of garbage in the streets. There's a lot of weird smells. There's a hell of a lot of open sewer smell throughout the entire city, even if you're in the nicer areas. So be aware of where you're booking when you book in Kuala Lumpur or book anywhere in Malaysia, and understand that the standard of cleanliness is different in Malaysia than it is in other metropolitan areas such as Singapore, Tokyo, Osaka, and in Japan, or some of the more modern first world countries.
Something you might not think that's going to affect you, but it affects you more than you would think, is the fact that this is a Muslim country. And it's nothing against that religion or belief, but what you have to realize is that being that the country is Muslim, there's a lot of things that you're not going to have access to easily. Halal restaurants are everywhere. So even if you go to try to order something you think would be very simple, like a pizza or a Subway sandwich.
No pork.
There's no pork anywhere, and the substitutes are often very odd.
Yeah, like we ordered a pizza and we got beef pepperoni on it. It wasn't terrible.
Chicken pepperoni.
There's chicken pepperoni, beef pepperoni. When you go to get a sandwich or a sub sandwich, you're not having any pork products, no ham or anything like that.
An Italian spicy sandwich has like Vegemite on it. It's very strange. And I'm not saying like that's like a deal breaker, but those are just things you should know about. The other thing is, we're sitting on this fabulous beach right now in Kuantan, and the road right behind this beach has no bars.
There's no bars.
There's no alcohol.
So if you're wanting to go to a country to have fun and drink and party and go to clubs and go to nice bars and restaurants and have alcohol included, your options are extremely limited because obviously the Muslim culture doesn't drink. Exactly. It also can be very difficult to go to wine stores or liquor stores and actually pick up your own beverages. It's just a really difficult place to actually, I don't want to say have fun, but it's a difficult place to party.
If your idea of a vacation, if you do drink, is going to be very different here than you might expect. That's all we were trying to say.
Being that the country is majority speaking Muslim, realize that the women here are 80-90% of them are wearing hijabs or something over their head. Being a Westerner, a woman or someone that's a Westerner, it can be a little bit uncomfortable to be here and experience the fact that you're not kind of fitting in with their societal cultures. So just be aware of that as well. You might get some funny looks and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would say not so much the men, but the women in particular are a little, the behavior towards Western women, if you don't cover your hair here, is a little bitter.
Yeah. One of our favorite things about travel is trying to figure out culture and what really makes someone Malaysian or what makes someone Japanese, or really kind of diving into the cultural elements. Malaysia is very difficult to understand because it is a melting pot of different cultures, from Chinese, India, Muslim, all different cultures all combined into one. And so it's a little convoluted. You can't really figure out the cultural identity of Malaysia very easily. And so it's a little confusing as to what the place is actually about. I found that to be not totally off-putting, but it's really, really hard, even with a lengthy period of time here, to really kind of dive in and like feel at one with the culture and adhere to the cultural standard.
So going into talking about Malaysia and Malaysians, we've been here over 3 weeks, and I think we've literally met 2 Malaysian people the whole time we've been here, like legitimately Malaysian people. And I think we saw the guy performing on the street was Malaysian as well. But most people here are not Malaysian. Most people here are Chinese or from Bangladesh
or India or China
or Thailand. It's a really interesting thing because I swear every time you get in a Grab, you're going to hear a completely different language. You might get in a Grab and hear Arabic, or you might get in a Grab and hear Mandarin, or you might get in a Grab and hear Malay. Like it's a crapshoot.
Yeah, and that kind of leads to the point that I think that Malaysia suffers with a lot of illegal immigration. There's a flood of Indians. Like when we had our first Airbnb, we felt like down at the floor level. When you're actually walking the streets, it was really heavily Indian, and we were expecting it to be more Malaysian. So if you come here, realize that it's a melting pot of culture. You're probably not going to get to know Malaysians as is, but you're going to be around a lot of immigrants from other countries. I think it's probably because it's so inexpensive to live in Malaysia, and they do have some lax laws in terms of immigration and getting visas to come live here, which can be an attractive thing for some, but I really wanted to meet more Malaysian culture, and I realized that it was just a melting pot of a lot of illegal immigrants.
So my biggest beef in Malaysia is this: cleanliness. I don't need luxury accommodations. I can get by on rather like primitive accommodations, no problem, but I need things to be clean. And I realize that not everybody's clean is the same. I maybe have an elevated standard of cleanliness because I worked in healthcare, and working in a hospital and in a surgical environment, things are sterile and they're very clean, maybe to the extreme. But the biggest surprise for me was coming to Malaysia and finding out how unclean it is.
And then when we talk about unclean, we're just talking about basic sanitary things and your accommodations and also the restrooms. Obviously, because we live in Japan, we're exposed to extremely clean restrooms. And I would say the standard of cleanliness and hygiene is really low, and it's third world in my opinion.
Yeah, most of so here's an example. You can go to one of these luxury malls where they have Chanel Boutique and Tory Burch and Dior and all this. You go to the restroom in a luxury mall, and there's a hole in the ground with a spray nozzle that you're expected to use with absolutely no sanitary products whatsoever.
And no toilet paper and everything like that.
No toilet paper, no paper towels, and usually the bathrooms are not clean.
Yeah, and there's a lot of kind of putrid smells around the cities and open sewers. And just the standard of cleanliness in Malaysia kind of shocked us because it is an Asian country, and Asians, of course, are pretty well known for their cleanliness. But Malaysia is a step down, and it's definitely, for me, more along the lines of South America or deep into Mexico or like country towns. It's actually a little bit surprising and disappointing, to be honest with you guys.
Yeah.
If you come to Malaysia and you're expecting a good public transportation system, then you're in for a surprise. Yes, you can use Grab, and it's very efficient and affordable to get a Grab or like what's known as like an Uber if you're in America. But there is very little public transport options. They do not have a underground subway system. They do have a light rail in Kuala Lumpur, but it doesn't go to the spots that you really need to go to. The bus system is somewhat archaic, and the roads are not done in any grid fashion. It's really kind of hard to get places, and it takes a long time, even if you're in your Grab. So transportation is a little bit shady and a little bit shoddy in Malaysia, to be honest with you.
Okay, I know this might get under some people's skin, but honestly, the food. Coming from other Asian countries like Japan or Singapore especially, because it's at the very tip of Malaysia, and you would expect, I guess, Malaysia to be a little bit more like Singapore with the food options as far as local Malay cuisine, Chinese, Indian food. Our experience here with the food has been very bad.
There's tons of food options here.
There's tons of food.
But the food and quality and the standard of deliciousness and quality,
it's very poor.
It's very poor, and it's spotty, and it's been really hard for us to the point where we've actually settled on Burger King and things that we're just
we never eat.
things that we would never really eat at home, but that we knew that we're just going to be consistently clean and edible. So we've had a lot of weird experiences in Malaysia with the food options here.
Yeah.
To wrap it all up on a positive note, the people in Malaysia are fairly friendly.
Yes.
It is a very safe country. There's not a lot of crime or a lot of drug activity going on here. So it's a safe option. It is very affordable in terms of accommodation. Food is really cheap, and everything's very inexpensive.
We're not saying not to come here.
It's a good backpacker's paradise if you want to come here and not spend a lot of money. But what I would say is that when you book your trip to Malaysia, be aware that you're not being advertised to quite correctly. It is not an ultra-modern first world country. It has a lot of things that would be considered to be third world, the cleanliness and certain other aspects of it. But overall, it's been a good trip. We just learned a lot, and we actually learned how fortunate we were to have lived in California and also to currently live in Japan.
Yes.